Hello and welcome to the Blissful Awareness Group. Here we discuss on spiritual matters and matters which relate to our life, relate to our practices. And it's a beautiful journey on which we have started to know ourselves. The main purpose is to abide in the self, and that abidance in the self is the goal. If we have to see, if we have to say that what is the goal of spirituality, especially on path of knowledge, we can say abidance in the self. So everybody is welcome to share their thoughts, views, experiences, or questions, if any. So you can either speak or you can type. So to start with, there were a few comments. Let me paste it here. So we start with these few comments, and then everybody is invited to speak out so that it is more of sharing rather than a one way discussion. Ashu has said that I think, therefore I am. How can we achieve non thinking state? This is a very powerful statement. I think, therefore I am. So basically, I mean, there can be several interpretations. I don't know what was in the mind of author who has written it, but let us try to slightly go deep into this. I think, therefore I am. Now, whenever we say I am, it is put into words, verbalized. So, as soon as something is verbalized, it is a thought. Otherwise, it will never be put into. I mean, if it is put in words, that means it is a thought, whatever way we can explain it. So, whenever think or I feel or I know that I am, that is a thought. So, that itself is an observation, it is just an experience. It is not that what you are, because what you are is not a thought. You A thought is there, you were there before it has come, and you will be there after it is gone, and you are there in between the two thoughts. If even if it is a microsecond gap between two thoughts, you are still there. So you are not the thought, that is very clear. Now, if you are not the thought, so whenever you put words into who you think you are, then it becomes a thought. So which you are not. So I think, therefore I am can be interpreted in this manner that I am is a thought, and therefore now the other interpretation could be I think I have the ability to think, therefore I am. So that I don't know, maybe the not the correct interpretation, but on plain reading, it could be that since I have the ability to think, therefore I am. But that may not be the correct way to understand it, because whosoever is thinking is also not you. Whosoever is knowing the thought is you, not the thought itself. But to know yourself as a thought is a misunderstanding of you, who you are. Because if you think that I know who I am, then it becomes duality, means there is something which is knowing that who you are. So you are not that whichever is known. Therefore, it can be easily concluded that you are not anything which can be experienced. And this is the first step. But in the ultimate analysis, the thought itself is also you in the sphere of non duality, because it is so subtle that whatever you are, it can only experience itself. It cannot experience anything which is not itself. So it is very difficult to put this in words that who you are. I think this question will always be unanswered, a mystery, and therefore everybody will be or are or all spiritual paths are only trying to solve this mystery, that who am I, what am I. In fact, in fact, Raman Maharshi has in fact given it a practice sort of a thing. But you don't have to repeat it. Who am I? Who am I? What am I? What am I? This is not a mantra to be repeated or plain words to be repeated. It is just to go to the depths of the meaning of this inquiry. It is therefore called self inquiry. And the result is self realization. When you realize that this inquiry will not be answered in a thought, in this process will lead you to somewhere which is unknowable, somewhere which cannot be exactly defined into words, because whatever can be defined into words will be an experience, will be a thought. So he has asked that how can we achieve non-thinking state. Now why you want to achieve this non-thinking state? If I don't think he's here, but if he's here or anybody, I mean, there is a misconception that to progress you have to achieve a non-thinking state. That will be a dull state, like a stone, like a, you can, I mean, we don't know, but if you can imagine a buffalo eating grass and sitting idle in a lake. So that perhaps the state of the mind of the buffalo is a non-thinking state. But that is not what we need. We need, thoughts can be of two types: thoughts which takes you to yourself, and thoughts which takes you towards the word, which attracts you, which pulls you towards the word. In fact, there are only two types, but not the thoughts which takes you towards the word, and thoughts which does not take you towards the word. To put it in a better way, that there can be thoughts which takes you towards the word, and there are other type of thoughts which does not take you, pulls you, or makes you indulge in the worldly pleasures. So those thoughts are actually neutral, or we can say those thoughts are does not cause any harm. They may not necessarily be thoughts that which takes you within yourself, because there are no thoughts which can take you within yourself. So wisely, uh, the Patanjali has put up klisht and aklisht. He has not said thoughts which takes you to yourself. He has simply said klisht means thoughts which takes you, pulls you towards the word, which brings you suffering, which brings you misery, and absence of such thoughts, or thoughts which does not pulls you towards the word. Those are aklisht, means which does not pulls you towards the. So there's nothing harm in those type of thoughts which does not pulls you towards the word, and that is the end of it. I mean, it is good that you know who you are, but again, that knowing itself will take you to yourself. That knowing itself will bring peace into you. I mean, peace is already your nature, but that effort, I mean, exactly, it is not an effort, but still it is said to be practice and dispassion. Dispassion means not to be interested in things which are causing restlessness in you, which causes uh, hustle bustle in your mind, which unsettles your mind. It's like waves are there, too much waves are there in a pond. So the depth of the pond can never be known. Or if there is lot of mud in the water, again, the depth will never be known. So that dispassion is needed to settle that mud down, so that the waves are a bit settled. And then the peace which you are, the love which you actually are, the experiencer which you really are, the bliss that you really are, will shine forth. So non-thinking state is perhaps not desirable. Only the thoughts which unsettles your mind, which ruffles up your mind, is may be avoided. That's all. Balance, rest, everything is okay. I mean, if you are planning for your day ahead, you are keeping track of your activities, your upkeep of the body, the health of the mind. We are very much, I mean, very much limited, or perhaps many a times we just think about the body. But what about the problems in the mind? In the sense that the mind is the body cannot think, right? It is the mind which is thinking, and thinking only can take you away from yourself. So as soon as those thoughts settles down, the essence which you are will shine forth. So, how we can achieve non thinking state? If we put it in the right manner, it is not non thinking state, it is just the thinking which takes you away from yourself. How to achieve that state? Let us put it in this manner. Then again, there are only two ways, one is practice, and second is dispassion. Now, what is practice and what is dispassion? Dispassion is whatever you hear or whatever you see, these two senses primarily, they causes lots of desires in you, and those desires, once we start running after them, takes you away from yourself. So dispassion is not to be too much attached to fulfillment of these desires. That is dispassion. And practice is to know the self, or to make an effort to be established in the self. And how it is done? It is again listening, contemplating, and abidance. Shravan, Manan, and Nididhyasana. So this is the only method prescribed in path of knowledge, that you hear and then you contemplate on it. How does the contemplation will be done? Through thoughts only. And finally to abide in the self. So when those thoughts subside on their own without any effort, at that time abidance will be coming. So that is in brief the state how we can achieve it. There are a few messages. Rajiv has said this statement is true in context of duality only. Yeah, any statement is true only in duality, because the non-dual statement is no, I mean, there's no statement which can say what is non-duality. Although we say that non-duality is oneness, but that is again wrong. We say non-duality is not two, but again, it is a words only. It is just concept. Once you know it, then there's no need to have this concept also. So the statements, the words will subside, will be gone, and what is left is what it is. So knowing the things as they are is what is more important. So knowing the things as they are, meaning that the essence shines forth as it is without any projection into thinking it to be something else. So that is the way to be established in the self, which Ashu was asking, how to be there in the non-thinking state. Is it's a automatic progression from, if you see the uselessness of running after one desire after other desire, or to put it differently, you go to the source from where these desires are coming, and then you also try to find the source where these desires are getting fulfilled. You will be surprised that they are one, they are not two. The place at where desires are fulfilled and the place from where the desires are getting arising. So if that source is one, you will be immediately in a state of surrender or bliss or non-doingness. I mean, you will not hanker after so many pleasures, which keeps you away from abidance. Sham has written, then why only human beings has the ability to know the non-duality? I think this is a good question. Let us deliberate in the group, that is it true that only human beings has the ability to know the non-duality? That is first part. Second part, is it that anybody can know the non-duality? I mean, if somebody would like to speak or write or share their views on these things of what Sham has said, is it possible to know the non-duality? That is first. Or is it that only human beings know the non-duality? Can any human being know the non-duality? I mean, there are different varieties of same question, but there is certain assumptions in this question that only human beings has the ability. So is this ability available, to put it even in a different manner? Is this ever possible? Ability means the possibility that possessing of the possibility to know something. So whether this ability to know the known duality is even possible. I mean, Madhuri has said no, it can't be known. So there is one view on contrary to what Sham has written, but Vinay has written product cannot know the source. Very right. Good.
Ramachandra,
Yeah, please go ahead.
Pranam. Uh, I was actually trying to speak from long time, but then everybody sleeps at home, so today I'm out. I can speak. Otherwise,
Most
yeah.
welcome. Most welcome.
So actually, this question that does humans. So I think it's just a human perspective that only humans can know, and actually, by remaining in the observer of the Sakshi Bhav, it may be possible to experience some higher states. But once you are back into that same human awakens this present state, then it becomes difficult, to convey this that how this experience can be. So I think it's just a human perspective. And as far as non-duality is concerned, again, the non-dual word itself is a concept to point towards that unknowable, and it has remained unknowable since time immemorial, from long time, and it would remain unknowable. I think it's a very simple with no. It's just a human perspective.
Thank you, Rajiv, for the perspective you have given. I fully agree with you that it is a thought that I know no non-duality. It is just a thought. What is non-duality? If you have to know the non-duality, you have to be something different from that which is being known. So then the non-duality word itself will be defeated. Satya is saying it is only an understanding. Yeah. And Madhuri has written because knowing comes from experience, only a change can be experienced. Very true. But there is no change in non duality. Only isness is there, it is ever omnipresent. We can't say that there is no change in non duality. There is both change and absence of change. There is change, there is no change, and there is uh, union of change and non change, or basically absence of change and non change. So, to
Can I?
understand it, yeah, please.
Sorry. Please continue. Then I would put forward my comment. Please continue.
Yeah. So, to speak about non duality is just an misnomer, I would say. It is to indicate towards something, to point towards something else. It is not non duality itself, if we are putting into words. But there is no other way that you can reach the non duality without using the words. So, your question was that why only human beings has the ability to know the non duality. Human beings are, what is a human being again? Human being is what? A combination of the faculty which can know and the senses or the body, which is an instrument through which something can be known, some experience can be received. That is what we call as human being. Now, why do we assume that human beings are the lone species who can know the known duality? Is it right to assume it? Because human beings are themselves having very little experience, very little experience. And that little experience is again polluted by so many impressions of the past, so many desires, so many misinformation about so many things which do come up from time to time through newspapers, through TV, through teachers, and through people who are preaching without actually going into the depth of the subject. So there can be a lot of sources of misinformation, and so I think we have to go beyond the words to know what is non-duality. It is not through the words we can know the non-duality. It is to know the words as they are. To know anything as it is will lead you to know non-duality. It is It is what? To see, if you can see a leaf as a leaf, a tree as a tree, a cow as a cow, a sense as a sense, a thought as a thought, without mixing anything with it. If you see that, then it will lead you to non duality without adding name to it, without adding any qualification to it, without trying to grab it, without trying to run away from it. Then the knower becomes the known. That is the meaning of this principle. Knower is the known. That means what? It means just that the one who is knowing has dissolved in the knowing, or we can say only the knowing is left, or we can say that the only object is left which is known. That object which is left, which is known, is itself the knower. That is the meaning of non duality. Then it need not to be put in words. The one who knows it also knows that it cannot be put in words, but still it has to be explained to someone. So how can you explain it? Then you have to use the words. So don't think or try in your wild imagination that I can imagine what non-duality is. No, no, you can't imagine, because there is no you in non-duality. There is no imagination in non-duality, and there is all imaginations in non-duality. And there are all human beings and all objects in non-duality. In what form? Nobody knows. What you are experiencing, do you know what is being experienced? You don't know. Do you know who is experiencing it? I don't think you know that. And do you know the process which is involved in knowing any experience or experiencing any experience? That is also not known. So, what we have coined another word for it, emptiness. Again, that is only a word. Just as non duality is a word, same way experiencing is also a word, or existence is also a word. So, what does existence means in Hindi? Asti, astitva, asti means that what is. So, that what is can never be put into words. Can anybody put in words what is space? Can anybody know what is mind? Yes, people may say that science has developed so much that they know what is mind. I don't think they know what is mind. They only know what is the organs which are there in this body, brain. They only know how to make certain changes in the body so that it can survive for a longer time. But does that what the mind is? Because mind is non physical, non spatial. How can you ever put that into words, which is neither physical nor spatial? It doesn't lie in time. Can mind exist without time? Now, again, there won't be any answer to this question. Can the mind exist? Can the body exist without space? No, you will not be able to get the answer to it. So you say, what is space then? Where the body is existing? Again, there will not be much convincing answer that what is space. So if you can't know what is space, how can you know what is mind, which is even subtler than the space? And how can you know that which knows the mind? In fact, it is written or it is said that mind is inert, the senses are inert, the body is inert, the objects are inert. But the one who knows that is not the inert. But a non inert cannot know inert. So it is a very big dilemma that how can a something which is so subtle can know something which is more gross. It is impossible again. Therefore, the concept, not concept actually, the solution to the problem is that it is not two. That which is knowing and that which is known. That which is non inert and that which is inert. They are not two. Because the gross cannot enter into the subtle to be experienced. That is impossible. The tree is not entering into you to be known as a tree, right? So, what is entering? Light, the sound, the touch, the smell. But what are they? Are they the tree? If they are, then what is being experienced in the dream as a tree? or in imagination as a tree. How, from where those elements are created in the dream or in the imagination of a image of a tree, from where they are coming, where they were stored, first of all, from where they are coming. So it's, I mean, we just don't have to accept what the teacher is saying or what the guru is saying. Go deep into your own experience on each and every statement. Then contemplation arises. Then the blind beliefs are shattered. The beliefs which we thought are true will be shattered. So each word is important. Otherwise, in all of this Brahm Vakyas, we can say, or great sentences, or the first four sutras of the Patanjali Yoga, the whole knowledge is covered there itself. That Ath Yoga Anushashanam means what? Right now, the discipline of yoga is described. Now. Now means what? The one who is ready. Now means what? Now means this movement. And yoga means what? The union, the oneness, the non duality. And the discipline of that is being described. Why discipline? Because if you're not disciplined, how can the mind know what is so subtle? I know the words are, again, I have used this word, how can the mind know? So mind actually is known. It is not, doesn't know anything. But there is a limitation of words. So we use this word, these terminology. So mind, once it settles down, that which is beyond minds shines forth. So Atha Yoga Anusashana. Atha means right now, right here, this moment, here and now. Not in past, never in future. Right now. That is Atha. Yoga means oneness, non-duality. And Anushashan means the discipline of yoga is being described right now. When a disciple is ready, when the mind is settled, when the intellect is has a special quality, not a intellect of a pandit. I don't know what do you call it in English. A person who is just intellectually trying to grasp the things, not like that. Or not the one who has read many scriptures and they are just, he remembers each and every line of the scriptures, not the words, right now, right here. Seeing the things as they are is what does atha means. Seeing the objects as they are, not adding anything to it. And second is yog chitta vritti nirodha. Means what? The oneness is when a state of undesirable thoughts is not there. Now, what is this undesirable thoughts? Thoughts which takes you towards the word, which pulls you towards the word, which make you restless. So when that is not there, that is the state of oneness. And that doesn't mean non-thinking. That only means thoughts which are pulling you away from yourself, absence of those thoughts, absence of thoughts which pulls you towards, which thinks that joy is somewhere outside, which makes you act in a way that believing that there is something else which will make me happy. There is something else which will make me peaceful. There is an effort in it. So once that effort is dropped, once that running after, hankering after the pleasures is dropped, that is yoga. Yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Then tad drishta sarupe avasthanam. This is very beautiful. Tad drishta sarupe avasthanam. Tad means then. Drashta means the experiencer. Swarupe means the essence, the beingness. Avasthanam means you get established there. Then and there, at that very moment, you are established in your own self, as yourself, as experience, as witness, as beauty, as love, as bliss, as existence, as everything and nothing at the same time. So that beauty is tad drashta sarupe avasthana. And the fourth one, which is again very important, vritti sarupya mitrat. That means otherwise you assume yourself to be something which you are not. At other times, trad vritti sarupyam itrat. In other times, itrat means other time, vritti means modifications of the mind, and sarupyam means you identify yourself to be some other object which you are not. So, in other times, you take the shape of any object, be it the body, be it an object, be it a mind, be it a thought, be it desire, be it emotion. You say, I am very angry person. That is a thought. I know who I am. That is again a thought. So that is an object. So in other times, you have taken the form of an object. Now these four sutras are written in the top of Patanjali Yoga. After that, whatever is written is a description of these four sutras. It is so beautiful. It is so crisp. There is no explanation. There is nothing left for imagination or interpretation. Just concentrate on these four. You will be knowing the whole non-duality. The whole spirituality will be unfolded in front of you. They are so beautiful. Rest, whatever is written, is just an explanation of how, what is oneness, what is experiencer, how to abide, what is dispassion, what is practice, what is samadhi, what is ashtang yoga, whatever. They are all and help to achieve tad drishta swarupe avasthana or atha yoga anusashanam or yog chitta vritti nirod or vritti sarupya mitra. Don't be what the modifications are. Don't become those modifications. I think I have stressed this too much. But if anybody else has to add or delete anything, most welcome.
Ashwin, I have a question.
Yeah, please.
Am I audible?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Go ahead.
I okay. I know somebody
Your
who
voice is breaking. Can you repeat again?
he
Your
just
voice
his
has cracked.
Kundalini awakened, but at that time he thought this is some kind of a brain disease or something. I don't know if we say something, probably God will understand. Okay, okay, okay. Um, Ashwinji, am I audible now? Okay.
Yeah, it is
I know
better.
somebody
Can you
who
repeat?
just
Yeah.
his Kundalini awakened. Okay, yeah, yeah. Okay, I know somebody he's a Kundalini awakened, but he didn't know how to read and write at that time, and he don't want to say something to others. Just he kept himself. He never read any scriptures as such, and he never asked any questions. But after 4 years of continuous struggle between those things, whatever happening with him, and once I asked them, somehow I came to question whether the Kundalini, something like snakes moving, happened. I just asked. He told yes, and I asked how you feel about the being with the interacting world, and I tried to articulate non-duality to him. He just disregarded. It's not useful to him at all. Even though the symptoms, whatever he said, he's feels like a completely enlightened, but he didn't read any scriptures or something else. Just he surrendered completely. I'm still wondering whether seeking of a knowledge is at all useful ultimately. uh, that's the question. And yeah, the discriminative knowledge, we are intellectually dissecting and understanding non-duality. Is this necessary for understanding non-duality?
No, no, it is not at all necessary. You are very right.
Yes.
There are different paths prescribed to reach at the same point. There are different mechanisms and there are different people, there are different ways to reach at the same destination. It is not necessary to discriminate. I mean, the way you said, ki why it is required to have discrimination to know that non-duality in a way definition is given to non-duality. Is it required? No, it is not required because even if it is, this definition is not imposed on the non-duality, the non-duality is non-duality, right? But how does it matter whether you know that everything is non-dual or everything is not non-dual? How does it matter? Does it matter?
No.
It matters only if you are suffering. It matters only if you have that, what do you say, that that inquisitiveness to know yourself. Otherwise, it is not needed. There are many many devotees. They may not know the concept of non-duality, but they are in ever in that state. Is it not possible? It is possible. Like a mother, she doesn't know how the baby is growing in her womb, but that doesn't mean the growth of the baby is hindered if she doesn't know how the baby grows in the womb. So what does it mean? It means that's why when we said that there these words, these concepts, this whatever knowledge is just an load, is a burden in case it is taken to be as truth. It is a burden if it is taken as a shelter to think that I know. The person who thinks that I know itself is not doesn't know anything actually. So the one you are talking about whose kundalini got aroused, or the devotees, or the path of action, or the path of meditation, what is the problem there then? The problem is just this, that if you are reaching that state without the help of the words, well and good. But sometimes you don't know the principle, and that principle is applied. How it will be then? Like in science, if you don't know the assumption or the principle which is being proved through the experiment, by default, sometimes by error, sometimes by chance, some experiments give certain other results than what is was expected to give, right? But
Yes.
if you know what is the principle in as a theory, then you do the experiment, then it is more likely to get the desired results. Now, therefore, every path has to be have the knowledge of the self, either be it devotee, be it meditation, be it path of action, or whatever, path of yoga, wherever. See, that's why I was talking about path of yoga, Patanjali Yoga Sutras. He never said that you do physical exercise. There's only one word in the whole Patanjali Yoga Sutra which says uh, sthir sukham iti asanam, means being stable, being in bliss is asana, not that physical movement of the body is asana. So rest everywhere. He just talked about what is drashta, what is experiencer, what is experienced, what is oneness, what is kavalyam, what is bliss, what is dispassion, what is practices, what is knowledge, what is lack of knowledge, what is imagination. All those things he has talked about it. So where there is a thing to say where it is said that you have to sit for 4 hours at concentrated one point to know who you are. No, no, no.
Yes.
So the misinterpretations are there in several parts, but when in whatever mechanism they are removed, be it through devotion, be it through action, selfless action, be it through meditation, the mind settles down. Once the mind settles down, the essence shines forth. That is the, I mean, sum and substance of what it is. I
Yes.
hope I cleared it. Otherwise, you can, I mean, anybody else can also add into it. Okay, so let
Can
us
I
move on.
can I
Yeah, please.
add something to
Sure,
it,
sure.
Ashwinji? So it's probably not an answer to this question, but I have personally gone through that same process myself, and I'm still trying to work out, the effect, or what's the right way or the right path. And what I have discovered though is this much, that when you're on the Kundalini path, and the realization that you get is it is quite rock solid. It is not based on logic. It's not based on words or thinking. It is kind of an experiential thing, but it's not even experiential. I can't call it experiential. It is very direct, and no matter how much logic you apply and how much thinking you apply afterwards, it can't change that realization. And but what I've also discovered is that you do need the knowledge around it for that particular realization to become more pervasive through your entire life, because the mind is such that it'll always keep on coming up, and it'll distract you, it'll entangle you, and you'll get entangled even though you've had a realization. But if you have the knowledge and you have that realization, that combination, that is extremely powerful. That's at least what my experience has been. But for instance, once when I had a realization that everything um, is an illusion, that realization just happened one day without anything. It was on a path of Kundalini, and it's very different to the realization that you'll get through logic, that everything you see here is an illusion, etc. But that one is still rock solid. You still need that knowledge around it to make it rock solid and embedded in you, irrespective of what situation comes in front of you. It's just my
Thank you
thoughts.
so much.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Andy. I mean, this was so apt and so correct. I can't agree more with you. See, that's what perhaps we were discussing before you spoke up. That even if we had that experience, that can be very solid. Very, I mean, that is always better. One is that you know in theory. The second is you have an experience which establishes you there, then and there. Now, problem is if you don't know how this experience has come, why this experience has come, who is experiencing it, there are chances that you may try to hanker after those experiences time and again. And you are right when you said that once that experience is combined with the knowledge of that experience, then you get established. Same way that there is no fight between various paths. If you don't have knowledge, you can't progress in path of devotion. If you don't have devotion, you can't progress in path of knowledge. If you can't act on what is right, what is wrong, if you don't have that discrimination, you can't progress in any path. So, I mean, they are all one. Where is the difference? Only thing we say that path of knowledge is direct path, because all the paths will ultimately boil down to knowing who you are, right? If a person doesn't know who he is in terms of at least as a concept, first of all, then how can he be right? If a person imagines himself to be body, then or as a doer, then there that action will always be to remove something or to add something, to hanker after certain experiences or to run away from certain experiences. So that will not take him or her to the wholeness of the whole being, the whole existence. So very right, Andy, for thank you for sharing your thoughts. Andy has written that all the paths are intermingled, one lead to another. They are not mutually exclusive. Absolutely. I this is my own experience, what you are written there. That they all are one. They are not two. They are not two paths. They are one path. And what is that path? That path is whatever way, whatever mechanism, whatever instruments you use, you have to be established in yourself. What does a devotee does when he prays to his teacher or the God? He dissolves, right? What does the selfless action says? That there is no doer in doing that action. He's not interested in the results of the action. What does the meditation does? Meditation, if you go into deep of meditation, which is described in Patanjali again, it says that tat pratyaya ek tanta. That meanings when you know and that thought is established in one thing, that is called meditation. And that establishing in one thing will lead you to Sarup Shunya and Arth Matra Nirvasa and Chit Shuddhi. So these three things happen. The mind becomes pure, and then the emptiness of your essence will shine forth, and the object will become same as the essence. That is called oneness. Now the path of yoga is leading to oneness. Kaivalyam means oneness, non-duality, not two. Kaivalya means one. Same thing in Guru Nanak, Ek Omkara. Same thing with Sai Baba, Sabka Malik Ek. Same thing with Kabir, same thing with Meera, same thing with Krishna, same thing with Christ, same thing with all the great masters who have come, who have got a glimpse of who they are. So, where is the difference in the paths? They are all one, no? That's what I think. Anyway, this is beautiful. So, Shyam has said that without discrimination, can anybody come to understanding of no duality, of non-duality? No, discrimination is absolutely required on any path, just the way we have discussed. Rajiv has sent a message. I think it is a big message. Vinay has also sent one message that there are few saints in Maharashtra who, through their writings, have expressed about non-duality coupled with bhakti. They may not have gone through intellectual process to know the experience. Path of knowledge requires just enough intelligence beyond words, logic, to grasp the non-duality. Very right, Vinay. See, I don't know what to say on this. That it is not necessary that you know and then you will have that realization of what you are. But when you have the realization of what you are, it will definitely have that knowingness that I know that I am not this. So through Bhakti Marg, see, it is available. I think the point which I wanted to say, I missed this, is that you don't need to be highly intellectual to understand or walk on the path of knowledge. It is not that you need to study a lot of scriptures to be actually successful in the path of knowledge. It is, I'm talking only of path of knowledge now. It requires just a very special type of intellect to which we call as discrimination, that which can discriminate between what is sorrow and what is pleasure. Let us, for an example, if we think sorrow to be pleasure or pleasure to be sorrow, then we are missing it. If we think non self to be the self, if we think what is impure to be the pure, then we are, if we think what is changing to be unchanging, that is the error which is there in the intellect, which doesn't tries to grasp what is as it is, which is very, very important to see non changing as non changing, to know non changing as non changing, to see pure as pure, to see self as self, and to uh, basically to know what they actually are. And how can that be known of what the thing actually is? By just concentrating on that particular thing without adding any thoughts to it, without adding any imagination to it, without going into sleep, and without uh, bringing past memories and shutting down senses for the time being, let us say. Then what will happen? Then there will be a lack of what? Movement. That lack of movement will be shining forth as it is, without any addition or deletion to what it imagined to be, whether it is useful or not useful. Sometimes we attach importance to an object just because it is utilized, it is useful for living, for maintaining the body, for having a good relation, for giving me pleasure. So, what is this? This is adding something to that which it is not, right? You are not the body to start with. If you are not the body, this thing is very well known. Then you are not the doer, you are not the mind. Then you can see mind as mind. Then you can see doer as doer. Then you can see an object as an object. Then you can see thought as a thought. Then you can see observer as the observer, then you can see the illusion as the illusion. If you can do that, that will lead to oneness. Meaning, if you can concentrate on one object, that object starts shining. And in that shining is the oneness. Now, that can be achieved either through devotion, either through meditation, either through path of action, or either through path of knowledge. And if you travel in any one of these paths sincerely, all the other three will accompany it. It will not happen that you are traveling on path of knowledge and there is no devotion, there is no selfless action, and there is no meditation. And it won't happen that if you are traveling on path of yoga, the other three will not accompany it. They are integral part of the other. So why we say path of knowledge is superior? I think even if you don't say it, then also it is okay, right? But if you say it, that is the ultimate truth, because other paths are leading you to a path of inaction, a path of non-doer. The concept of non-doer is available only in path of knowledge. The concept of non-duality is available in path of knowledge. So for the seekers whose intellect is more developed, who can understand it, then they should definitely they grasp it and they don't leave it. They immediately it gets clicked, because they have, most of them, they have traveled on the path of meditation, action, and love or devotion. Still, the questions were not answered. There, the theory is not given that why I should meditate for 1 hour, let us say, why I should do selfless action. There is the concept of doership is strengthened there. The concept of surrender is strengthened there. That don't ask, just do what I'm telling you to do. Don't ask why I should meditate. Meditate and see yourself why you are meditating. Don't ask questions, just surrender to me. That is path of devotion. Now, the person who has some developed intellect will not grasp it, will not be very much, will not stay in those paths, right? Therefore, we say that for those who are able to understand, take the bitter pill directly, for them the path of knowledge is prescribed. It is said to be the direct path because there is no path here, right? It ends as soon as it starts. I think I have spoken a lot. Anybody wants to say something, add? Otherwise, we may close
Ashwinji,
it also.
yeah, I'll share some experiences of mine. While traveling at early stages, just after awakening, I used to follow so many gurus at that time. I suddenly felt like, due to this knowledge, the intellectual thing made me realize that these people are lying. Whoever they are deceiving people, the path of knowledge made me sure that one, this is everything. These people are lying, deceiving. The path of devotion, whatever the uh, teachings, I felt like, these are all really, the intellectual discriminative mind started to think this, many deception is going on. I really can't understand at that time. Slowly, that discrimination able to understand clearly. At that time, I can really able to just able to understand their way of understanding. But discrimination makes you divisive at the beginning. Almost all the time, it's a super divisive instrument. Even in spiritual journey, also for beginners, it's extreme. They will not fit into any other path other than intellectual path. That must be, yeah, feels like that earlier stages. Then slowly we become something else.
Yeah, thank you, Sham. I think you're right that discrimination is absolutely essential on any path, more so in path of knowledge. But I believe discrimination is required in all the paths. What is right, what is wrong is discrimination, right? To know
Yes.
things as they are is discrimination. Not to pollute it is discrimination. Not to mix it with our own desires is discrimination. Not to mix it with imagination is discrimination. Like you don't start imagining something which it is not discrimination. So discrimination is simply means that to see things as they are, which is perhaps the last step of all the paths to things, to know what the thing is. That's it. That's the end of the whole spirituality. If you can know what the thing is as it is without adding any color to it, without, after removing the goggles or the colored glasses which you are wearing, if you can remove that, you have already done, you have traveled the path, right? You have reached the destination. So discrimination is absolutely essential. Vivek, which we call in Hindi, which will lead you to pragya. Now, pragya is something different from discrimination. It is the ability to know the self as it is. Now, knowing everything else is called discrimination in the worldly ways also, but it will lead you to pragya. And once that wisdom or pragya is also surrendered, then it is called nirbij, means a state where all the impressions will not have any impact on you. They anyway doesn't have any impact you on any otherwise also, but you will realize that the impressions which I used to think are mine will vanish. They will just disappear, or at least the whole, what do you say, you will be established so much in that self that any impressions or the past impressions will simply be like a wave on the surface of the ocean. What does a wave on the surface of the ocean can do to the depth of the ocean where there is no movement? And ultimately, the waves are also the depth. So anyway, I think it was beautiful discussion today, and I thank all of you to participate and come take your time out for being a part of this meeting and this endeavor to share, to know much better in a more clear manner, that who am I, what am I, and to abide in the self in the last analysis, to see things as they are, to just surrender into the beingness, not surrender to a guru, not surrender to a person, just surrender to the knowledge, surrender to the knowingness, surrender to the self which you are, surrender to the essence which you are. That will, that is called satsang. And all the best to all of you. We'll meet next Friday. Thank you so much for coming here.